topic that I have had so many questions about, and it's a little bit in keeping with the reflection on the first quarter. It's Wednesday, April the 2nd, and as a result of that, we are looking at last quarter, the January, February, March quarter, and realizing that we're in second quarter. April is among us, and we are so blessed to have a new beginning of sorts, a new month, a new quarter to take a look at the goals we set for last um, quarter and say, okay, what did we do well and what do we need to improve on? So, as many of you all know, hence the name of the channel, On Sabbatical with Dr. Crystal, I'm officially on sabbatical this year, and it actually started in June of last year. And so it will go through December of 2025. So I have several categories of goals, one of which that's consistent throughout for every quarter, for every trip, and for every month is to do something to promote my health and well-being. One of the reasons I left is that I felt literally like my toxic job was killing me, and so I really wanted to be very conscious of the fact that tomorrow is not promised, and we have to be a little bit more um, intentional and consistent on meeting our goals for our health. So yeah, am talking tonight about putting your health as the focus of your sabbatical. So, some of my other goals have been financial, they have been language learning. Before the end of this month, I'm putting together an episode where myself and some other friends of mine are going to be talking about how we have pursued our Spanish language learning goals this year and just to normalize, I guess, some of the journey steps that you go through and the emotional roller coaster that it can be as you progress in your language learning journey. You know, you become confident in some things, but less confident in other things. So let me stop and introduce myself. My name is Dr. Crystal Harris, and I am a semi retired academic. I am a social psychologist by training. I worked for almost 18 years in an Illinois state public four-year institution as a lecturer, senior lecturer, and assistant professor and program coordinator. And then prior to that, I spent a couple years as the instructor of record at my alma mater, where I earned my doctoral degree there teaching social psychology. So that's where I got my start. So I really came into this process of starting a YouTube channel, not only wanting to catalog my journey as a person on sabbatical. I'm a early retired, which means I will likely go back to full-time employment at some point. And at the moment, I'm not allowing myself to worry too much about that. But I think it's really important to take career breaks. And I wish that I had heard about career breaks and sabbaticals prior to being in my 50s. So I am really adamant about making sure people understand that it's a possibility, that it's reality, that they should do it, that they deserve to do it, and that even though it can be difficult to navigate sort of the political waters of your career, you should still do it. It's still worth it, and the saving and the money and how you fund it is actually, people think, oh, I can't do it because I don't have the money. That's actually not the hard part. There's so many people out here in these international streets. Now, you don't have to do a sabbatical to travel. You can do it for other reasons, but my sabbatical was primarily to travel and to get my health goals back on track. So tonight we're talking about our health goals. And so in my first sabbatical, you all may have heard me say when I was in Spain, I did two health focused experiences. One of them was a 5-day meditation and detox retreat. And I probably should do an episode about that as well one day. And I will probably wait until I'm about to do another one. And then the second thing I did was a 6-day yoga retreat, which also included meditation and eating um, vegetarian, veganish um, diet for those 6 days. So it's really an amazing experience. And yeah, now that I'm thinking out loud, I really think I should do an episode about those two experiences. And I would love to do more of those types of experiences. So, my most recent mini sabbatical, I would say, um, was to San Jose, Costa Rica. And in that sabbatical, I focused on medical tourism, or more specifically, dental tourism. So, uh, So the first thing I want to talk about is, why did I choose Costa Rica? Well, the truth is, I actually chose Panama City. I did a lot of research and found out that since I was going to Panama City, and as you know, I'm headed to Panama City in less than 2 weeks, um, that was a good place to explore it. I did some research online and on YouTube and found a dental school that also had a dental clinic. I was impressed with their YouTube channel. I looked up their reviews. I talked with one of their doctors, and I'm still impressed with them. But I ended up choosing Costa Rica because, if I'm honest, I actually had a friend who, when I told her of my plans to go to Panama City for dental treatment, she was like, no, 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 you have to go to my dentist. I have the world's greatest dental clinic, and they're in San Jose, Costa Rica. It'll cost you the same as it'll cost to go to Panama. I've been going there 7 years, and my husband has gone there, my sister has gone there, a cousin of mine or some family friend had been there. And so she was like a walking billboard for Goodness Dental, which is the clinic that I decided to go with. So I said, okay, it was still like I had made the appointment at the other place, but it was still basically um, 2 months out. So I connected with someone, and sure enough, I had an amazing white glove experience from the very beginning. I was assigned what's known as a patient care coordinator, and that person really walked me through all of the steps of being prepared for when I got off the plane and was handed over, you might say, to the driver at the hotel that I selected. So before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about Costa Rica and cost comparisons, because a lot of people don't realize, they know that um, dental and medical expenses in other countries is lower, but a lot of times, I know myself, we really don't realize how off the chart, how much of an outlier the U.S. medical system is. And we're also led to believe, intentionally, that the reason why it's high, the cost is high, is because where our care is so much superior to other places where we could get care, So, and the reality is, there may be some procedures. I'm new to this, so I'm not going to pretend that I know it all or that I've experienced it all. But what I can say is that in the case of dental work, you're going to save a minimum of 50% and could be up to 70 to 80%, depending on what it is that you need to have done. And many of the doctors, at least in Central America, are English speaking. They may have been trained for some part of their education in English speaking, UK, US. These dental practices or medical practices are staffed with people who have also escaped. Just like as a retired academic, I was escaping, you might say, with sabbaticals. Medical healthcare professionals are also a, I don't say underrepresented, but they're a very stressed out group who's also struggling with some of the changes that have been toxic and for their own personal health and well-being. So therefore, they are also looking to practice elsewhere. That's not to say that everybody who was trained in America is necessarily good, and that the people who are trained in Central America are inferior. They're not. Everything that I experienced, I'll be honest with you, was state of the art, high tech, far more high tech than my most recent dental experiences in the United States. Now, granted, one of the reasons why I needed so much done at this clinic was because I had not, since the pandemic, I had been to the dentist only twice, and it was in the early days, and the money that I needed to be able to have the root canal and fillings replaced or caps replaced were exorbitant. And I would say that, as far as Chicago median incomes, I was right with the median Chicago income. And if I was struggling to come up with $5,000 just to put on one or two teeth, you can imagine the impact that other people would have. And you have other things done, not to mention, you know, the cleaning, the x-rays and things of that nature. So I want to read some cost comparisons to you for the things that I had done and give you that perspective. So as I mentioned, I needed to have a root canal and I did not have insurance. I paid out of pocket. Now, some clinics, including the one I went to, Goodness Dental in San Jose, actually, they're not in San Jose, they're in the outskirts. They're in a community, a luxury kind of community called Escazú, which is about 15 minutes, I want to say, what is that, west of San Jose, Costa Rica. And they're in the location where the luxury triplex mall is. I don't remember the name of the mall, but they have a huge mall there where all the luxury brands are housed, including the American luxury brands. And that's what Escazú is really famous for. So it's a wonderful community. Um, and I'll say more about the lodging at a later point. But according to the research that I found on Google, so I don't know how accurate it is, and I don't have any sources, but you should do the same Google source. How much does a root canal cost in Costa Rica compared to the United States? So I'm comparing country to country because you realize in Costa Rica there's going to be different prices depending on whether you're in the urban area versus a more remote area. Just like in the United States, you would get a different price in Chicago versus like West Virginia or Montana. So, and I said Montana for a specific reason. Hold that thought. So in Costa Rica, according to Google, the average is between $222 and $450. And in the United States, a root canal, of course, it depends on how serious it is going in either location, $600 to $1,500, which would be a savings of approximately 70%. Now, I needed a root canal, and I had a root canal in an area that I had a root canal before and had a significant amount of damage. So I would say my root canal, the degree of seriousness of my root canal is on the upper end. And in fact, at Goodness Dental, I paid $450 for the root canal out of pocket. And I did not have any insurance, so it cost $450. I paid $450. So for me, that was a savings of more than 60%. I also had another area where I thought I would need a root canal, and as it turns out, I only they could not save that tooth. They ended up extracting that tooth and preparing it for an implant. And I actually got three posts installed. I had some spaces where there were no teeth in the top. So I actually am going to be having three dental implants. So I had three posts implanted. And later on, I will go back for each of those teeth and have a tooth installed. And in Costa Rica, the average cost, it says, is $750 to $1,200 in the United States, $3,000 to $5,000, and a savings of 80%. At my location, I ended up paying $800 for the post installation, and will go back and pay another $800 when I have the tooth installed. So at my clinic, it was actually $1,600, which is higher than the Google average. And I have two friends who've had root canal, a single tooth. One of them paid $4,500 and another one paid $4,800. So I do think the dental implant work is going to be on the upper end of this range. But there are other places, and I was in Chicago. These are friends and colleagues in Chicago. So there are going to be places in the United States where I'm sure it's not $5,000, but in Chicago, I think $5,000 is a basis. And so in addition to that, I also want to give a cost comparison for x-rays and evaluations, which would be the initial consultation. So when you arrive, a little bit about what happens, I'll talk about this next, is they're going to give you, you're going to meet with an x-ray technician. They're going to take digital imaging, what do they call it? 3D digital imaging, and then they're going to use those images to inform the doctor, who will do an actual inspection of your mouth, your teeth, your gums, and then they write a report with their recommendations, and then they meet with you about that. So it's very, very comprehensive process, and in fact, more comprehensive because you have the paper in front of you, and you actually get to look at it while you're waiting for that third part of the meeting. So the X-rays and evaluation is sort of like a three-step process. And the range that Google gave me for Costa Rica was $50 to $100, and then the United States $150 to $300, and therefore a savings of 65%. I personally paid $100 for the X-rays and $150 for my evaluation and consultation, for a total of $250. So this, again, this Google price is low to me. And then in the United States, I know I've paid $300 to $400 for my part with insurance for the X-rays and the evaluation. So I'm not clear because I didn't go back and ask Google to tell me to prove it where exactly this data comes from. Well, basically, I think I got a good deal, even though the Google estimates for the average price in Costa Rica that I paid is slightly higher. I think it's going to depend on the kind of client, the type of clinic that you go to. So now that we've talked a little bit about the cost comparison, I want to share a little bit about my experience with Goodness Dental. I have a handful of pictures that I'm going to also show towards the end, only because I've never shown pictures during a YouTube live stream, so I'm not really sure how that's going to work out. So I want to make sure that I get the part done that I know how to do first. So basically, as I mentioned, when I decided to reach out to them, told them I was referred to by a friend, gave them her name, they didn't care. But anyway, I did. And I didn't know that it was as big a practice as it was. They have multiple locations in San Jose. I talked with this person via WhatsApp, via regular text message, and via email several times. What would have been ideal is if I had x-rays from my dentist in the US that I thought were recent enough to be valid, as I would have sent them to them. But what I did instead was I took a video of my teeth, my mouth, what was going on and what I thought I needed. And, they were very, polite and professional. This person, this young man it was, sent the images, the video that I sent to the doctor, and then I had a short conversation with the doctor. Basically, I feel like they just said, yeah, your mouth is a hot mess. You need a lot. You need to come. We'll figure it out when you get here. And they were like, we're sure we're going to be able to help you. Don't worry about it. Looking forward to meeting you. That was kind of the doctor's response, basically, to my video of my mouth. So, but there is a step in there where if you have x-rays or maybe referrals from dentists that say, oh, you need this, that, or the other, and you could send those information, and they could therefore be a little bit more prepared for your first meeting. And but I didn't have that, so I kind of had to take it on faith. So again, that was another reason why I think being able to go with a place where someone I knew, trusted, and respected had a positive experience over multiple years. And I would say that, like if you don't know me from Adam and I'm just a YouTube person, don't go to San Jose and book at Goodness Dental because I said so and I had a good experience, because again, that's anecdotal research. However, I do think that's a start, and I do think I'm not going to get any, discounts because I'm telling people that I had a good experience there. But in my case, I thought that if something went wrong, you're going to see like the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities um, in a practice if you've gone to them over 7 years. You've been a part of the growth and the evolution of the practice. And so I felt like her recommendation was a strong recommendation as a result of that. And so I sort of came at the back end where like there could not be a more modern, more clean, more well-staffed, more professional um, practice. I will say that the young man who had been my patient care coordinator going into it actually left the practice for another opportunity about a week before we were literally talking about the hotel, the person who was going to handle the booking of the hotel. So Goodness Dental is also a clinic that offers wraparound services, which is perhaps another reason why they're at the higher end of the averages or above the higher end of the averages for Costa Rica. So if you think about it, the fact that they're paying people who are not clinicians, that are not just receptionists, to talk to people in English, which is not their native language, very fluent English speakers amongst the dentists, the receptionists, and patient care coordinators and the woman who handles the office and the billing and things of that nature that would help you with your insurance if you needed to do that. Or so I feel like that costs money. All that costs money, right? So therefore, I'm not surprised that I was on the upper end or even above the upper end of what Google said the averages were for Costa Rica. Still a great savings, 60 to 70% in many cases. So my experience when I arrived is I was taken immediately to the back by the, I don't know what they're called, x-ray technician. That's probably not the right term. But anyway, the equipment, the digital 3D analysis person, he immediately took me to the back and I was able to, get through those tests pretty quickly. There were two machines. They took several different kinds of images, different directions. It was very fascinating because I'd never seen equipment like that before. I didn't know what the report was going to look like. I just knew that I would. He did tell me that I was going to get to see the images. Because if you know, like in the U.S., the last time I have gone to the dentist, they sort of have the X-rays up on a like a light box, and you can see that they're looking at the light box, but they don't really show you. They might show you one tooth, like the area where you need the root canal. I've had them like pull out that one film and show me that one film before, um, particularly because I had a root canal and then like the root canal didn't something anyway. 2 years later, I had to go back and have a root canal in the exact same spot, and I don't remember why they said that happened, but anyway, it did. And I do remember them showing me a film of that area in my tooth, but of course, what did I know? I had to take their word for it. I didn't understand. So therefore, I loved that you have an opportunity to get the report out. I want to say it's maybe 3 or 4 pages of images and then one page with numbers and money on it and a projection of how many visits and days or visits, days, time this would take to complete. And then you don't actually meet to talk with anybody about what you're going to do until the next day, at least in my case, because I had already had 2 evaluations. So the meeting to discuss the money and the timing and I guess the treatment plan, how it was actually going to go. My agreement to the treatment plan was actually the next morning. And then I went immediately for a root canal, and then I went for a filling. And then on the third day, I had the implant post surgery. And I was on a liquid diet for the first um, 48 hours, and then I was on a soft food diet. So basically, anything that you could break up, with your fork, you weren't supposed to be doing any chewing. So anything you could break up with your fork, your tongue, the roof of your mouth, that kind of food. I got some pictures of some of the meals that I ate too. I will say that another reason to go to Costa Rica, honestly, besides the fact that I was referred for a friend, is I felt like the cost of the lodging and the flight was affordable. I also felt like, and the flight was like 350 round trip to Atlanta. And I actually paid more than that because I paid to check a bag. I got basic economy. That was the basic economy price. And the food was amazing. I was at a location where they had breakfast, dinner. They had breakfast included, not lunch or dinner. And they also had a refrigerator and a stove and a microwave and a blender, all that stuff in the unit that I rented. I got a list from the patient care coordinator of the lodging places where they would provide transportation to the clinic for each of my appointments for every day. And I thought that was a bonus. So I ended up picking a place that was maybe like $105 a night. The other thing that's really nice, if you've not had a chance to travel to Central America, this is true in other countries as well. But in Costa Rica and in Panama, I've noticed as I'm planning, they don't have like, how the hotel is $100, but in the U.S. you're really going to pay 150. You can't think that because you saw $100 you're going to pay anywhere near $100. Those local city hospitality taxes and fees are exorbitant here. So yeah, so I think I paid $108 per day, and I think the price that I saw when I picked it was 105, and that was for a full. It was really almost like a 2 bedroom suite, but it was a 1 bedroom suite with a den and a living room. I didn't need all that space. Apparently, I got an upgrade. I heard when I got there because the type that I had reserved wasn't available. And I did have someone from the hotel come to the airport pick me up, which was a savings of $30, $40. And then I also had The Goodness Dental has transportation themselves where they pick patients up that live within a certain mile radius and bring them to the dentist's office and takes them back. And I found that to be very, very convenient because you're not feeling well, you're not thinking straight, and you are making a lot of decisions that, especially that first day or two. So to just know that all you have to do is wait downstairs, that they're going to call the driver and you'll go downstairs and get in a car. That was lovely. And he was a phenomenal human being. Didn't speak a lot of English. Fortunately, as you know, I have been learning Spanish for many years. My Spanish for communication with restaurant, en el restaurante, el taxi, el Uber, es muy bueno. So I feel very comfortable in those types of short-term transactional experiences, describing what I want to eat, drink, where I need to go, that type of thing. So those of you who are beginning Spanish speakers, you'll be able to practice those conversations. Good morning, good afternoon, how are you doing? It's cold today, it's hot today. How was your appointment? Very well, that type of thing. So that type of basic, what would you call that? Conversational, easy, early conversational Spanish would probably be beneficial. It'll make you feel more welcomed and cared for, and I think it helps them also treat you differently because you've made the decision to invest in dental and medical care in their country, and therefore are going to be making, perhaps multiple visits to the country. So, okay, we talked about lodging. So I stayed at Villas del Rio, and it was an amazing place. I have some pictures that I will show you. If I can't figure out how to make them part of the live stream, I'll just do a separate short with them. And so they had two pools and a hot tub and a gym. I never went to the gym. Beautiful grounds, maybe 4 or 5 buildings. And the place was spacious, clean, modern. They had daily housekeeping. I caused a bit of a stir because I asked the housekeeper after watching her mop a perfectly clean floor. On the fourth day, I actually was recuperating there after the surgery and wasn't feeling too well. And I was like, please don't mop this floor. It's fine. It's clean. So I'm thinking I'm doing her a favor of saving her work, but come to find out, like, that's what they do. They want to be paid. It is a sense of pride and honor to do the job you are paid to do well. So I would just say that, oh, I'm sorry, I had a little, my experience with lodging, Villas del Rio. So I loved the pool. It was really cool there, so it was nice that one of the pools was heated. It was really nice that the living room had double doors opened out to the pool area, not the heated pool, but the smaller pool. And that was very convenient for me because I was able to go like literally right out the living room with my swimsuit and towel and sit in a chair and then sit in the water. And I just loved that. So I'm looking forward to going back in probably not 6 months. I'll probably wait and go back in December. And I want to stay in the same exact place. And I'm super pleased with my experience there. Um, so let's see. I actually had a list of notes. Let me see what else I was supposed to talk about. So what I will say, I don't want to do a lot of talk about dental work itself because there's so many other videos doing a great job of that. I'm also going to tag Medical Tourism RN channel that I watched and discovered as preparing for this. I'm going to see her name. So she has a video called Black Women and Dental Tourism. And she also tags as a resource Stephanie Perry's root canal in Costa Rica video on her channel. So I'll tag both of those. And so the name of her channel is Medical Tourism RN. And I don't know her name. I apologize for that. And she's pretty detailed about things like how do you research and find out about not just reviews, but credentials, like what kind of training do different doctors get? How is it similar? How is it different? I thought that was like really cool that that kind of information was available to research. I kind of felt like, well, if they got hired at this really important, successful practice, they're probably the cream of the crop, right? And they all looked happy. They all looked well paid and well compensated. Salaries are lower in Central America, which is another reason why the care is more affordable in almost any industry, but Yeah, they looked like they were doing well, driving well, dressing well. Um, I'm sure there's injustice everywhere. But I did want to say that you should do your due diligence, but there are lots of folks that are out here having medical procedures as well as, and I'm talking about planned, maybe preventative procedures or maybe procedures that are not at the chronic state. Like if you need heart surgery, I don't know how you arrange to do that out of the country. There might be a way, and there are people who are really whose business it is to help you figure out if you should choose going abroad or staying in the U.S. and can help you navigate that. That's not what I'm doing. I'm here to share my experience. But I think that if I had a more serious condition, including a serious condition that could have interacted negatively with my dental treatment, I certainly might not choose this option. But ultimately, in every video, I've watched a lot of these now. Uh, the question is, would you do it again? And the truth is, I would definitely do it again. In fact, I will be doing it again. One of the decisions I made is I don't want my whole mouth jacked up for 6 to 9 months. And I knew that it would be unlikely that I would be back in exactly 6 months in October because I have a lot going on in early November and I don't want to be healing. I've been back now 2 full weeks. So I've been on a solid food diet. So the only thing when I left that I was told is don't eat crunchy food, don't eat crunchy, chewy food. Give your gums a chance to rest and heal organically. So I still, strangely enough, am actually really enjoying a soft diet on some occasions. I have had um, fried chicken maybe 2 or 3 times. I'm not sure the first time if I should have had it. So I ended up not finishing it. I was like, maybe too soon. So I would encourage you to follow doctor's orders. The other thing I should have said is about the pharmacy. So I was on 4 medications. One I started before the surgery, and I don't remember which. I don't want to go into that. So it was pain medication and antibiotic, prescription mouthwash. I don't remember what the fourth one was for, but there was a fourth pill too. So I was so impressed that the pharmacy delivered the medications that I was on the day before I had surgery to the clinic, and I met him in the lobby area and was able to pay with one of those things where you tap your card, same credit card, American credit card, and it was $70 for this whole little bag of medicine. It was like a little lunchbox size. So I was like, this is so cool. And also, what do you call it? Not recycle, eco-friendly packaging. The pharmacy used eco-friendly packaging. I have never seen eco-friendly. There was nothing was in those little plastic orange bottles with the hard plastic tops that we all end up throwing away. I don't know what else you do with those. So that was kind of cool. So I would definitely do it again. Final thoughts, do your research. Medical tourism is here to stay. It's only going to get better. People who are trying to improve um, are going to continue to outpace. And I just think there's some things that in America, sometimes like we can't, it's harder for us to improve because I think a lot of times we have in our head that we are already doing things perfectly. And that's not to say that I haven't had some amazing healthcare experiences here in the United States. I know not all black people, middle class people especially, can't say that. I do know that I was raised by a woman who was a beast, a gorilla of healthcare communication and negotiation. My stepfather was on a waiting list for a heart transplant for 4.5 years, and he eventually got one, and he got it for free. And a lot of that was due in large part to my mother's excellence in terms of her skills and her commitment to making sure that she found resources, told people about them, applied for everything, and asked. She would say, was it hungry mouths don't get fed? Same thing is true for medical care. So I'm really grateful that I observed her do that. She herself, unfortunately, when you're the one sick, you sometimes don't have the ability to do that. But she was great at advocating for others. I do want to say one of the things I loved about Goodness Dental. You'll see this plaque was on the wall, a sign. It was sort of like their values and their mission statement. And it said to improve the quality of life of our patients through the dental treatments we perform. So their values are teamwork, conflict resolution, self-responsibility, and being client-centered. So I loved that, and I really felt like they honored that. They were true to that, and I was there 4 days, 4 consecutive days, 2 locations, and so everyone I interacted with ahead of time and during those 4 days, I felt like you could see. Not only was it hanging in different places when you would walk around the back side of the clinic, it wasn't in the front, it was in the back. I could feel, I felt cared for, I guess is my final thought. And I think that's the way healthcare should be. We should feel cared for. We should not feel like they're in a rush and they have, not to say that they wasted time and there wasn't a lot of like chit chat or any of that, but definitely so here's a picture of, I don't know how this is going to show up. So they're ranked #1 in Costa Rica. I'm going to do it, pray it again. Also, I don't know if you could see it here, but they have a little coffee snack station here. Their snack station has saltines. Oh, it's not in the picture. Okay. So that's what the clinic looks like. And let's see where I put up some other pictures, and I'm not going to know what they are, unfortunately. So I'm just going to. Okay, okay, I am still at Secret Savannah. I am in a new location. This is the unit that I booked 2 months ago off of Airbnb, and it's really beautiful. I love the, this is a short little, what would that be? The place that I stayed. This is after the so this is the soup. Okay, that's very, I can't make it stay. Anyway, so I had tomato soup. That was the liquid diet, one of the things I ate in the liquid diet. This is one of the places where I rested. You only get to see it for a second, apparently. There's no way for me to hold it there. Let's see what this. Okay, thank you. Oh yeah, this is another one of the breakfasts. So this is soft diet day. So it's rice and peas, an omelet with spinach inside, and some orange juice. Okay, thank you. And the food, so that's the free breakfast buffet at the hotel. Which, by the way, they had meat, and they had a lot of people who were there for various dental clinic work, but they also had people like their family members who wanted to eat, bacon and sausage and things that are chewy. So they had a really great selection. I think I had some more. Let me see what this is. Nope, that's the tomato soup. I think that's it. I had more, but I didn't do a good job of getting them uploaded. Like I said, it's the first time I've tried this. So that is all that I have for you today, and I thank you for your time and attention. I ask that you would please like and share this video. Uh, like and share this video, please, with anyone who you think would be interested in this topic. I would also ask that you would, if you're watching the replay, let me know you're watching the replay. And let me know, would you consider, if you have in fact had medical work or dental work outside of the United States, or would you consider it? Particularly, what would be the most compelling reason? Is it the cost, or would you be concerned about the quality of care? And yeah, so like I said, I would definitely do it again. I will definitely do it again. It's honestly the most cared for um, I've ever felt for in a medical situation. Not saying that I have not been cared for when I've had surgery in the United States. I've had surgery twice and I felt cared for, but it's a different culture. Thank you again for watching, and I'm again Dr. Crystal Harris. I'm a career strategist. Would love to be a part of your journey to leave a toxic work situation and get yourself on a career break or a sabbatical. Feel free to book a free discovery call with me. Reach out to me on LinkedIn or on um, YouTube in the comments, or my email address, phdcoaching@gmail.com. And I look forward to talking with you. Bye bye.